What's up, Knicks fans? Welcome to another edition of Knicks Latest, your go-to podcast for everything New York Knicks. We are back from the All-Star break. Our channel is back from a brief hiatus. Thanks for staying with us. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking the video. Thanks for dropping your comments. It is now the home stretch for our New York Knicks. Almost postseason time. Post All-Star break. Got a few things to talk about, but make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you drop a comment. I want to hear your thoughts about everything New York Knicks. I want to take your comments. I want to use them for future episodes. Let's get right to it. Small acquisition. The Knicks signed TJ Warren to a G League deal. He was on the Westchester Knicks last year. He's back at it this year. Not a big deal here. You know, TJ is somebody who is a vet in the NBA. He's somebody who's had a successful career. I mean, even in the bubble, I don't know if y'all remember this. He was practically like Michael Jordan for a little bit. one of the best players in the bubble back in the day. Someone who can score the basketball, but at best, and I mean this at best, somebody who's an emergency backup in case everything goes to crap here for New York. You remember 2 years ago in the playoffs where the Knicks were missing half of their roster and Alec Burks had to step in and get some major minutes. Maybe something similar to that where if you have OG go down and Mikal Bridges go down and Jordan Clarkson go down, you know, you have TJ Warren there in the G League affiliate to bring up and maybe, you know, score the basketball, knock on wood. Don't want any of that happening. But for TJ personally, somebody who's still trying to stick around in the league, somebody who can still obviously score the basketball, who still has a lot of value, maybe not with this New York Knicks team, but maybe he can show out in the G League. You know, maybe he can make a name for himself out there where he can get brought up. Maybe the Knicks use him as a trade piece later on, maybe next year or in the offseason. But at most this year, definitely not something to make a big deal out of. This is somebody who is not going to see the rotation unless there are huge injuries here, and I don't think that's a shock to anybody, but definitely something worth reporting. Now, this is the first time this particular channel is reporting on the Jeremy Sochan news. Required from the San Antonio Spurs. Well, he was dropped by San Antonio, then signed with the New York Knicks. Jeremy's somebody who was a throwback New York Knick. He could have fit in with the 90s Knicks. I love this move. I see a lot of Knicks content creators kind of ho-hum on this because it's kind of hard to figure out where he's going to get minutes. You know, you bring in Gershon Yabusele in the offseason, and you have this idea of maybe him stretching the floor, shooting the three, maybe a small ball lineup. And that's the thought you had with the bench when you did put it together. Jeremy can't shoot. That's his problem right now in the league. He's an unreliable three-point shooter. Teams are going to sag off of him. You really can't play him with someone like, for instance, like Josh Hart, right? Because teams tend to sag off Josh as well. You can't really have that. The spacing is going to be awful. But what Jeremy can bring to the table is defensive intensity from, you know, a big-ish big man, you know, position. He can guard the perimeter, but he can also guard big men. He gets dirty. He gets into the paint. He grabs boards. He's physical. He's a throwback. He's something I think this Knicks team needs. You know, him and Jose Alvarado, I think there's been a lot of questions whether or not this Knicks team is tough enough. You know, I wasn't somebody who really thought that. We saw them last year kind of get into some scuffles. They never really had any hesitation to get into it if they needed to. This is not a team that doesn't lack hustle. This is not a team that doesn't go after loose balls, which I think is really important. But they were missing maybe somewhat an enforcer. You know, PJ Tucker was around last year. It was nice to have him. Isaiah Hartenstein a couple years ago, he always would stand up to teammates. And Julius Randle back in the day didn't take any crap. You know, and I'm not saying the Knicks are soft. I don't think they're soft by any means, but it is nice to have someone like a Jose Alvarado come around, somebody with that New York attitude, and a Jeremy Sochan come around, somebody who's he's going to get into, I wouldn't say fights, but scuffles with other players. He's going to be somebody who's going to stick up for teammates, somebody who can set a tone in the game, somebody if an Isaiah Stewart or Jalen Duren, you know, try to come at us, we have people who can go back at them as well. And I think the Knicks kind of needed that. You know, I think every team sort of needs an enforcer, somebody who can set a tone, somebody who's not going to take any crap. And I think that's my favorite part about what Leon Rose did at this deadline. And I don't know if he did it consciously, but you get two people who pretty much like don't take crap from anybody, and you bolster the bench, you bolster the depth, and you do get defensive presence, which they desperately needed. But you also get two tough individuals who are just not going to take crap for anybody. And I don't know where Jeremy fits in the sense with how many minutes he gets. You know, I'm going to I'm going to just take the guess that there's going to be games maybe he plays, maybe he doesn't play. Games where maybe the Knicks need a kick in the butt and Jeremy comes in and he injects some energy, and, maybe some other games where he doesn't seem to be a good matchup and Mike Brown leaves him on the bench. I don't think he's going to be somebody who is a staple in the rotation, sort of say, but I could see a game, how Tibbs kind of used Precious Achiuwa in a way where it's like sometimes he got burned, sometimes he didn't, and sometimes he got in, changed the game, and sometimes he didn't. I think Jeremy's going to be a lot like that. If the Knicks have, for instance, last year when Pascal Siakam was kind of killing them, and OG was having a little trouble there, maybe you're bringing Jeremy to rough him up, or, it's just a different body who's bigger, who can possibly guard somebody like a Pascal Siakam, something like that in the playoffs if they're getting worked by a big man, or if they just want to throw a different look defensively. I think Mike Brown has that in the bag to go to. I don't expect him to be a huge part of the rotation, but definitely someone who can win a playoff game, who can flip a series, or can have a huge moment in the playoffs for the Knicks if need be, and if given the opportunity. So I do think this is a great pickup for the Knicks. I think he fits the team perfectly. I wish he could shoot the ball better, but, you can't have everything here. But I definitely like to pick up. Last but not least, not a lot to talk about outside the All-Star break. The Knicks winning the shootout and Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns playing the All-Star game. But one thing that has been mentioned throughout the year, and one thing that I'm putting a pin on for the rest of the year, and I'm sure y'all want to pin on this too. The only reason I'm commenting on it is because it's been in the news. Giannis talking about, quoting about how he wants to be in Milwaukee. As of now, I'm in Milwaukee, I think is what he said. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I've been very vocal about how I feel about Giannis coming to the Knicks. Giannis Antetokounmpo is somebody who I think is very hard to build around. I don't know if you want to blow up your core for him. I can understand why Knicks fans want him. He's obviously one of the best players ever to play the game, and you're going to have a chance to win a championship with him and Jalen Brunson. But there's a lot that has to go around Giannis Antetokounmpo for him to be successful. It takes a very specific type of team, and he's just not somebody who, as a Knicks fan, I am dying to get. He's getting up there in age. I think it's difficult to build around. I'm not sure him and Jalen could work out. There's just a lot of different reasons. But I'm done with this, man. I don't know what was going on at the trade deadline. I don't know what Shams was reporting. This whole act of him claiming that he's loyal to Milwaukee, I'm done with it, man. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to keep talking about it. We talk about it on the Knicks channel because it does relate to the Knicks, because the Knicks have been in trade discussions with Giannis. There have been reports that he would prefer to go to the Knicks. At the trade deadline, it kind of switched up a little bit because it doesn't seem like the Knicks are a possibility right now. But I'm just done, man. And let's make a pledge right now. If you're watching this for the first time, or if you're watching this channel and you're subscribed, let's not talk about Giannis for the rest of the year. I am done. Until the Knicks are eliminated or win the NBA championship, until it's the offseason and trade rumors start flying, we are done with Giannis. And even then, we have to have a level-headed discussion about it. It's been enough. I don't think it's distracting. I don't think Cat cares as much as he did during the regular season. I think now that the trade deadline's over, Cat can now focus on what needs to be done heading into the playoffs. I do think it maybe affected him a little bit, and him not being really sure what his offensive role is, and him not being sure if the Knicks even wanted him. That can leave a mark on somebody. He is a human being, and it is really freaking annoying to hear your name in trade rumors every day. So that's it. I seen some Knicks channels comment on this, and Giannis pledging that, he, as of now, Milwaukee Bucks, this is where my focus is right now. I don't care. Let the Bucks deal with that. It's as slow as news week. Not going to deny that. Just wanted to bring that up just so I can put it out there and we can end this once and for all. R.I.P. Giannis Antetokounmpo to New York Knicks basketball talk in the year 2026. All right, like I said, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be bringing you updates, scores, all that good stuff, game recaps as a Knicks fight for a 2 seed, maybe a 1 seed in the playoffs. They got the Pistons coming up on Thursday. We're going to look forward to that on Thursday's show, so stay tuned for that. Drop a comment below. What are you expecting from the New York Knicks heading into the second half of the year? What are you expecting from Jeremy Shohan? Do you think Mike Brown's going to give him a significant amount of playing time? What do you think about that acquisition? Let me know in the comment section below. Like the video. Make sure you subscribe. I'll see you next time for another episode of Knicks Latest.